Hello, everyone. Today is Thursday, April 11th. This is episode 51, and this is the Daily Fantasy 5, where we bring you the five things you need to know today in the world of fantasy sports. That's right. And we are brought to you, as always, by mathradio.com, where you can pick up a math course for your child ages 7 through 17, help them get better grades, help them do better on exams, and even help them get into college. Be the hero of your household by going to www.mathradio.com to pick up an online course for your child for as little as $9.99. And it's $9.99 for life. It is not $9.99 in a month or a week or a day. One-time purchase price of $9.99 gets you an online math course. Pretty amazing deal over at www.mathradio.com. All right, let's talk about the sports. The NBA regular season is over. Hallelujah, it is done. We can get into the playoffs and some super awesome daily fantasy basketball. But the playoffs don't start until Saturday, giving us plenty of time to get our players healthy and get some strategies going. We'll be talking about daily fantasy basketball on Friday and Saturday's show. Today, we'll do some baseball highlights and some recaps. So, let's start with the basketball from last night. The biggest game, the Detroit Pistons were victorious. They are now going to the playoffs. I predicted that Andre Drummond and Ish Smith would be valuable for you as fantasy starters. Well, I was 1 for 2 because Andre Drummond had himself a game. He had 20 points, 18 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks. Yikes, that is pretty fantastic. Ish Smith, not so much. Didn't do that much. Sorry about that, folks. 2 points, 1 rebound, and 4 assists in 18 minutes. I'm surprised he didn't come through with more in 18 minutes. You know, you would expect if he gets 18 minutes, about a point per minute, but not quite. Hopefully, Andre Drummond made up for it, and you were able to survive last night. All right, so that was the big story out of the NBA. Let's go ahead and break down the NBA playoff matchups that we have that are now set. In the East, we have Milwaukee versus Detroit. Obviously, you could spend money on the Greek Freak, but the guy I like out of Detroit is Andre Drummond. He's going to have Lopez guarding him. I don't think Lopez stands a chance. Drummond should be able to get his points, get his rebounds, do all the normal stuff that we have been loving him for the last, 3 weeks. He's been an absolute monster. So keep him in mind. The number 2 seed in the East is Toronto versus Orlando. I'm not sure I love anyone. Kawhi Leonard is going to be very expensive. Siakis is good. I'm not sure if I love anybody in that matchup. Next, we have Philadelphia against the Brooklyn Nets. All right, in this matchup, let me just say that I think Brooklyn is going to take a game or two from Philadelphia. I kind of like all the Brooklyn players. I like D'Angelo Russell. I like Dimwitty. I like Levert. I like all those guys. I think they're all tough. I think they could all give you fantasy value. Um, the Philadelphia Joel Embiid, obviously he always has value, but he's going to cost you, 11, 12, 13,000. So I don't know about that one. The next matchup is the 4-5 seed Boston against Indiana. We're going to get to Boston later. They have some injury news. And now let's move out west. Out west, Golden State is going to take on the Los Angeles Clippers. So the big news in this matchup is you need to keep your eyes out for news on Steph Curry. He was pulled from the 81st game of the year, did not play in the 82nd. He's supposed to be ready for game one. I don't know. We'll see. If he doesn't play for a couple games or if he's not 100%, I think the Clippers could take a game from Golden State, maybe even two. The Clippers are a tough team, very similar to the Brooklyn Nets on the other side of the bracket. All right, moving on. We have the number 2 seed Denver Nuggets against the San Antonio Spurs. I expect this to be a bloodbath. San Antonio will not let Denver play at the up-tempo speed that they like. This should deflate everyone's fantasy value. Don't really love this matchup for fantasy. Next, we have Portland against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Here is where I like fantasy because Lillard is just going to crush. Along with, I bet Westbrook puts up crazy numbers. Again, those guys are expensive, though. We'll talk about some sleepers later on in the week. And the final matchup in the West is the Houston Rockets versus the Utah Jazz. This is another interesting matchup. I think it's a much tougher opponent than Houston wanted to face in the first round. Utah plays great defense. They have a great home court. They should at least make Houston work for it, which is a trouble for Houston when they go up against Golden State in the second round. So that should be an interesting number 2 matchup. And Harden always is a great fantasy option. So let's get out of basketball with the Celtics news as our story number 3. Marcus Smart has torn an oblique, and MRI shows he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. That means he's at least out the first 2 rounds until the conference finals if the Celtics make it there. And I don't think they can without Marcus Smart. They might still be able to beat the Indiana Pacers, but I don't. If I had to pick who's going to win this matchup, I would take Indiana. Give me the team that likes each other, that plays together, and I don't have any faith in the Celtics. Okay, we have 2 stories in baseball. Jacoby Jones of the Detroit Tigers. He's a 26-year-old left fielder. He is coming off the injured list today. I don't know if you want to take a chance on this guy. In 2018, he only hit 207 in 429 at bats. He had 11 home runs and 13 stolen bases. I know some people had him pegged, as a regular starter, getting, 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases, being a 2020 guy. I'm not sure if I see it. He's never really hit for contact. I just don't think he's going to get on base enough to really make these numbers work out. Finally, Matt Carpenter of the St. Louis Cardinals has signed a 2-year, $37 million extension to keep him in St. Louis through 2022. So last year he hit 257 with 36 home runs and 81 RBIs. You can expect Matt Carpenter, if you have him in a dynasty league, to be with the Cardinals for the next few years, which gives you some stability, and you got to like that news. All right, that's it today for the 5 things you need to know in the world of fantasy sports. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to be talking daily fantasy basketball and any other baseball injuries. Be sure to visit mathradio.com, like the show, subscribe on YouTube, give us a rating and 5-star review. I'm sorry, a 5-star rating and a written review over at iTunes, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye for now, people.